Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Table Talk. I'm your host, Jake Combs, and tonight we have a really awesome unboxing video for you. We are going to be looking at the new Battletome for the Ogor Mawtribes. We have the new Bloodpelt Hunter, as well as the Slaves to Darkness Army box, which does include the Battletome within as well. So we're going to go ahead and dive right in. Now, before we do get started, these items were provided to us by Games Workshop for the purpose of this video, and as of the date that this video releases, these items are available for pre-order. So go ahead and check those out if you're interested, and let's dive right in. So we're going to go ahead and start with the Ogor Mawtribes first. Set that aside. And the new Bloodpelt Hunter. Now, for anyone that actually follows the weekly episodes on Warhammer Plus, will have seen that there was recently a Ogor themed Lore Masters episode, basically explaining how they went from the destructive force that they were to assisting Sigmar and his forces in the new realms, and then breaking off after their god basically decided that was tired of not eating Sigmarites, that humans were essentially delicious, and so they should be able to eat them. As far as specifics beyond that, I don't remember too much, and I've never actually read any of their lore before. Now, the first time I was in the hobby, back when it was Warhammer Fantasy, I actually got to see when the ogres were first brought in, and see, as an army itself. And I remember, like, these guys were crazy looking. They were obsessed with their guts and obsessed with eating all the time, and it was a really interesting army. And it was one that, like, I barely started to get into as far as the models. And soon after, though, after I did like my first box set, I think it was of just like some of the basic units, then I kind of got out of the hobby for a while, and started focusing on my kids and things like that, like many of us do at times. And then when I came back to the hobby several years ago, we now have this whole new version of them in Age of Sigmar, and the core essence is still there, which I really like that. And I thought it was really cool that they started out actually as part of Order when they came into the new realms with their god, and then eventually splintered to then be part of Destruction. Now, my understanding is the entire time, as far as the Grand Alliances were concerned, for playing the game, they were all they were always Destruction. But hey, kitten. But in their lore, they were part of the good guys first. So I thought that was really cool. So let's go ahead and open up the new Blood Hunter. Now, from what I understand and what I've seen online so far, which obviously you just saw me break the wrap on the Battletome, so I haven't been able to confirm, but my understanding is that the Bloodpelt Hunter is the only new model for the Mawtribes. So go ahead and set that over here. We do have a single base, and a single sprue. Now, what I really like about this unit, this model, is that they take a lot of trophies of their kills, and there's a lot of pretty impressive looking beasts on here. We have like this massive bear, there's a lizard head, and that lizard head kind of looks like a miniature T-Rex head, so I'm guessing from a cold one, something like that. And we've got horns, and we've got serrated blades, we've got a spear, we've got axes and arrows, a bow. Like, the overall detail on the Ogor himself, there isn't much there. It's mostly just him wearing fabric and all of his things attached to him that do most of the actual detail work. And like the fur on this massive bear, the pauldron that's included in his spoils has a ton of details. That's torn up, fighting something. I suspect that's actually his. No, that's not a pauldron. That's the shield that covers his belly. So that's definitely taken some damage. That's pretty cool. And also it shows that their crude armor does work to protect their bellies. So definitely a really cool model. A lot of great detail here. Like, I like the sack of meat where you have a human arm kind of hanging out of it, and just a lot of details here that kind of open up the way for a lot of stories, just like by looking at him to see what he's been capable of and what he's done. And so definitely looking forward to giving him some time to be painted. A lot of great detail there. We have our assembly guide. It is just a simple 3 pages, and looking at it, I don't see any alternative loadouts, so it's just going to be the one generic build. And now the Battletome itself. All right, so we start off with a bunch of lore. Talking about the Endless Feast, Gutbuster Wargluts, Beastclaw, Alfrostuns, Tribes of Infamy. Kragnos has his own section in here because he is one of the gods. Now, according to lore masters, a lot of them follow him because he basically makes a way for kind of driving out animals and things like that, making it easier for them to actually feast. And I don't believe that they actually follow him directly as far as who they worship. And then some of these are also surrounded by kind of really small, a lot smaller greenskins as well, smaller than your typical goblins. Like Hrothgorn Mantrapper, he's got a trio of them with him. He's one of the Underworld's warband units. So by page 60, we still haven't gotten to the rules, but we have gotten to the painting guide that shows you some step-by-step on how to do some of the different effects, which immediately goes into the army rules themselves on page 62. And so allegiance abilities, we have for Mawtribes, Ravenous Brutes, Gulping Bites, Grasp of the Everwinter, Trampling Charge, and Might Makes Right. Now, with Might Makes Right, there actually was a good example of that also on that recent Warhammer Plus episode, where they actually did a Path to Glory battle report between the Mawtribes and the Stormcast Eternals, and it was really good. And they actually explain this rule. Oh, crap. Sorry about that. My cat decided to try to eat the cord and knocked off the camera in the process. So they do a good job of explaining might makes right. But essentially what it is each friendly Mawtribes Ogor counts as 2 models. Each friendly Mawtribes hero, and that is not a monster, counts as 5. And each friendly monster counts as 10. So basically that gives you an advantage when you are trying to like take an objective. And with that being the case, the Sons of Bahamut, they also have the same rule there, where it allows them, since there are so fewer models, that they are able to count as more when trying to take those objectives. And then we go into the command traits, artifacts of power. So under the artifacts of power, we have Plunder of the Glut Lord, which is for a Gutbuster's hero. One of them is the Splatter Cleaver. Pick one of the bearer's melee weapons at the end of the combat phase. If any wounds caused by attacks made with that weapon in that phase were allocated to an enemy unit, you can heal D3 wounds allocated to each friendly Ogor unit within 12 inches of the bearer. So that means that basically using that weapon, you're healing your teammates that are within range. So hopefully when you do use that, you have your injured units close by, so that way they can take advantage of it. We have spell lores, lore of the gut magic and lore of the Sun Eater. We have prayer scriptures for Everwinter prayers for the Beastclaw Raiders Priest, mount traits, and then specific rules for the different Mawtribes themselves. Then we go into our Path to Glory, where we have some quests, some veteran abilities, territories, heroic upgrades, some specific battle plans as well. And then we go into the match play section, which is a little bit of the same. And then we go into the actual rules for the models themselves. Now, starting off, we do have Kragnos. I suspect that he starts off because he is probably worth more points than any other single model. Tyrant, Slaughtermaster, Butcher, Bloodpelt Hunter. Like I said, so far that is the only model that is new from what I've seen. Let's see. See if anything else stands out. All right, so yeah, just looking at the models listed here, the only new one is the Bloodpelt Hunter. So nothing new there, but obviously some of the stats have been changed since the last one, and possibly some points values as well. I'm gonna go ahead and just throw that up there so that way you guys can see it. Feel free to pause and zoom in on those points. I'm gonna go ahead and set that aside now. All right, so now the Slaves of Darkness army box. Now, Some of you may notice that right here we do have a little bit of damage on the box. That was actually some damage during the shipping process. And hopefully none of the pieces within are damaged. Because if it's only the cosmetic damage on the box, that I am okay with. Now, from what I understand, every model in this box is new. Let's see. And actually, the part that was sticking out is one of these posts right here. So it didn't actually affect any of the models on that sprue. And so right off the bat, for the Chaos Warriors, we do have 2 identical sprues, each including a banner. So we're going to go ahead and split those apart since one of them is a duplicate. We have this massive sprue for, looks like the, I can't remember what they're called, but I believe they're Myrmidons, if I remember correctly, with their flag, which is massive compared to the Chaos Warriors one. And a ton of great detail on the shields, as well as on the bodies themselves. These guys look like a lot of fun to paint, and definitely seeing them now is reinforcing that fact. Then this is the other one for those guys, it looks like. Since there's, I believe, 3 of those guys. And then we have basically a sprue and a half, which covers the Daemon Prince. Now, what I'm curious about is if the Daemon Prince sprue works for both 40K and Age of Sigmar, and actually it looks like it does work for both, because we do have some pieces that very much look like 40K design for this guy. Now, from what they announced before, they actually have heads for each of the gods on this model, and so I'm just checking to see if we can spot each of those heads. So I see one that works for either Undivided or Khorne. Let's see. Yeah, definitely. So we've got the Undivided and the Tzeentch, or I'm sorry, and the Khorne. That's 2 separate heads, it looks like. But so far, I have yet to see heads for the other gods. Now this is a really cool looking kit, a lot of great detail, like the wings are scarred and torn in places. So a lot of great attention to detail here. All right, there's part of one of the other faces. So it looks like the faces actually come in multiple pieces, which is why it's so hard to actually quickly identify them. Then we have our divider, our Slaves to Darkness Battletome, and the assembly instructions behind it. So we'll set that aside. Then lifting up the flap, we have our cards, our War Scroll cards as well. And then lastly, we have our bag of minis, and then our mini for the Daemon Lord. All right. Now, what surprised me about this box is when it was first announced, they were saying that the plan was this was to come out during winter, which would have put it with a December release. Now, there was a lot of leaks at the time, so I'm wondering if they sped up their timeline because of that. So right here we have our assembly guide. Let's see. So there's two variants for how the Prince holds the weapon, two different variants for how he stands. Various hand options, it looks like. The sword and the weapons that he holds, there's variations. And then we have, it looks like, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different head options to choose from. Look like 2 for undivided. And then we have our other units as well. One of them you choose between a standard bearer or a chaos chosen. Another one is a musician or a chaos chosen. Things like that, especially depending on how large you want the army. If you plan on using musicians and banners or not. And then for the, let's see, Gorons, and those are the Myrmidon looking guys, but smaller. There's a couple different options as far as weapons go between axes and swords. The bearer for them can also be replaced with a shield and a falchion. So I love the options for the assembly, giving you the ability to kind of mix and match your army and have more unique models on the field. So very cool. All right. So this is our cards themselves. Like we have Chaos Infernal Treasures, Chaos Esoterica, Ruinous Overlords, Death Dealer, Favorite of the Pantheon. So basically, kind of quick reference rules for the different abilities and add-ons you can have. And I like that they come in this nice little deck holder. Let's see. All right. So there are a lot of different units that you can use. You do have tokens with the battle tactics and grand strategies, as well as unit tokens. And then, of course, we have all of our actual battle cards for each one. So, like Archeon, Bellicor, the Chaos Lord on Cadrak. So we're just going to flip through here real quick just to see if anything stands out. So the new Daemon Prince is definitely new. see. Eternus rules are already in here. So I was really curious if his rules were going to be in here or not, since he was just recently announced and is more specific to following Be'lakor. So I wasn't sure if we were going to get like a splinter faction with their own rules to cover the followers of Be'lakor, or if they were going to be included as Slaves of Darkness. So at the very least, they are included in here. Alright. So the guys that I was talking about were the Ogoroid Theridons. And then we do have war scrolls in here for the Underworld warbands. As well as the new Chaos Knights, and we do have Chaos Marauder Horsemen, Chaos Marauders, the Centaurion Marshal, Chaos Legionnaires, so these guys are all from Warcry, the Horns of Hashut, Tarantulos Brood, Splintered Fang, Corvus Cabal. So it looks like all of the Chaos-based Warcry warbands are in here, including the Furries and Raptorix, the Mindstealers Pharynx, the Fomoroid Crusher, and then of course lastly our endless spells. Now, out of all of the armies out there for Age of Sigmar, Slaves of Darkness has always been my favorite, even when it was simply just called Chaos. So definitely looking forward to getting started with these guys, because as I said, they are my favorites. We do have a freshly primed and built Archeon ready to go. So he's going to be an upcoming project here, not in the immediate future, but hopefully soon. And now we're going to go ahead and open up the tome for Slaves of Darkness. Now, right off the bat, the texture of the tome hardcover itself feels very different than a normal Battletome. I can't really describe the texture difference, but it is a very different feeling. Now, there's some gold inlay, as well as the pages themselves are actually gold on the outside, and I really like that. All right, so we go into all the lore. And I would not be surprised if we get past, like, maybe into the page 70s. Let's see. So you do have a section that kind of gives you a brief overview of each of the main groups, including the different warbands from Warcry. Well, actually, it's listed as warbands of the 8 points. On page 48, we actually start getting into painted examples. Now, a Daemon Prince is one model that I've always wanted to own, as far as for their stats and what they are. But I was never really happy with the sculpts of the previous model, and with some of the different head variations for this one, I absolutely love the look of this model. Excuse me. All right, so painting guide is on page 64, and then page 68 we actually get to go into the army rules. And conveniently, that is actually where the string bookmark is for me already. So it makes finding this section easier. So starting off, we have our battle traits. So for the different gods, including Undivided. So we'll just look at one at random. So look at Tzeentch. So you can roll a dice each time a spell targets a friendly Tzeentch slaves unit. On a 6, that spell has no effect. In addition, Slaves of Darkness wizards know the following spell: Warp Reality, which is a spell that with a casting value of 6 and a range of 9. If successful, pack 1 friendly Slaves of Darkness unit visible to the caster. Remove that unit from the battlefield and set it up again within range of the caster and more than 9 inches from enemy units. So that one is a little bit interesting. I mean, the way I read it is, it sounds very much like the abilities for the Stormcast themselves, where and like not so much these ones dying, but the fact that, like, you know, they die and they can essentially respawn somewhere else on the map, you know, on a well enough roll. So, you know, that is one big difference there. We also have the Damned Legions, Vows of Darkness, our command traits. So one of them is actually for Slaves of Darkness, Demon Princes only, which is Aspects of the Ascended. So we have Not to be Denied, Bolstered by Chaos, Radiance of Dark Glory, Diabolic Magistry, and Undivided. We have some Artifacts of Power. So where the other tome only had 2, this one actually, or 2 sections for that, this one has 3. We have our Spell Lores, Ensorcelled Banners, Icons of Chaos, the various Damned Legions, and then our Path to Glory section, where we go over some of the gifts of chaos that can be applied. We got 4 different quests. We have several veteran abilities, several territories, heroic upgrades. We have our battle plan. Whoa, almost lost that. Which I really like the picture that they chose for this. Their photographers do a great job kind of setting the stage for their photos. Then we go into some of the different Chaos Horde options with the different warbands, and kind of gives you a breakdown of how they should be organized, like with what types of unit. And then obviously match play, and then our rules. So like I was saying before, we're not going to flip through these one at a time, but the only real difference there as far as what's available is for the new models that came in this box. And then lastly, we go to the points list, which is the first time I recall seeing this in this edition, but it actually takes up almost 2 full pages for those stats, or sorry, for those points. So here's page 2. So very cool stuff there. Definitely looking forward to getting in there and reading more about the Slaves of Darkness, building up those armies, and getting started with a proper Slaves of Darkness army that isn't comprised of only models from Warcry, which, don't get me wrong, I love the Warcry models. They are by far some of my favorite. But you know, using all those different warbands together, they don't look like a cohesive unit or a cohesive army. So, you know, having, you know, more traditional models in there as well is definitely going to help there. So really looking forward to getting these guys built and painted. Can't wait to try them out on the field. So I'm really looking forward to doing that. But that's it for tonight, or actually rewind. So let's actually take a close look at the models. All right, so starting with the Bloodpelt Hunter. So as you can see, there's not a lot of detail on the Hunter himself, and it's all in the accessories. And nothing really on the underside, but that's what he's gonna look like once he's finished. Now, this is the Chaos Warrior sprue. Like I said before, there are 2 of these. These are for the Thermodons. I mean, look at all that detail. Definitely some really cool stuff there. Here is the smaller of the 2 sprues for the Daemon Prince. And based on like pieces like this, it definitely looks like this is designed to be able to be used in 40K as well. And then the last Daemon Prince sprue. And then what I was talking about before, I mean, look at the detail there. Just with the Nixon marks. And then the sword looks pretty wicked as well. Overall, it's a fantastic looking model. Like I said, I can't wait to actually get this guy built and seeing what customizations we can come up with. All right, and then so now, like I was saying before, that's it for tonight. Thank you guys as always for watching. We wouldn't be here without your support. If you could, please hit that like and subscribe button. Every subscribe that we get does bring us a step closer to actually getting one of those custom URLs to make it much easier to find us. But there's also some changes with YouTube that have been recently announced that may make finding us a bit easier for those of us that haven't already subscribed. So definitely a lot of cool things coming down the way. Again, these models are available for pre-order after the day this video is released. So if you don't have it already ordered, I definitely would suggest doing so, just because of how awesome these models are. Plus the fact that you get an early access to the tome. And as I always say with the battle tomes, even if you don't play that army or don't think you ever will play that army, I do highly recommend getting them, just so you can learn the tactics of your opponents as well and what they can bring to the table. So that way you can better plan. Like if you have a friend that you play with and that friend only has 3 armies total, having those battle tomes will allow you to kind of sniff out their weaknesses per se, and have the chance to make adjustments in your list for that. So definitely something to consider. Like I said, highly recommend getting the books at the very least. But that's it for tonight. Thank you guys as always for watching, and I hope you have a great night.